Hello there, my name's Jan from JB Crafts and I'm back again today with my next Technique Tuesday video for you. So I have a tutorial today on what is a very simple technique but has quite an effective finish on it. I've seen this all over the internet. It's not an original design. I've seen it on the internet, I've seen it on YouTube, on Pinterest, and I just thought I'd have a go at it. And I wanted to have a set of instructions on my channel for it. So it's called a fractured card, and the idea is that the elements around here are meant to look like sort of a camera lens. I know there's a lot of people called it a shutter card, but I prefer the fractured part on it. And as I say, it is really simple to do. I've done mine on a 7x5 style, so this is a portrait version of it. And I also tried it on a landscape version as well, and I think I actually prefer the landscape version, so again, it's entirely up to you. You could have a look at both ways like I did and see which you prefer. It would also translate onto different size cards, so you could put this onto a square card. It would probably go on a 6x4. You just need to reduce the elements slightly. So yeah, really simple. So let's get into the tutorial and I'll show you how easy it is to put together. So I'm just going to pop that one. I'm going to make the landscape one for you today, just because I actually like that one a wee bit better. So like I said, we're going to start out with a 7x5 card blank, and I've kept this very simple for the Technique Tuesday. I wanted to focus on the technique. I haven't done any inside part for this one, but you've seen me decorate the insides of the cards before. So I have my 7x5 card blank there, and I'm going to use it as a top fold so that I've got that portrait, that landscape style, with the opening at the bottom here. Created a few mats and layers, so we'll just bring some of those in. So my first mat layer is going to be a little bit of silver matte mirror card, and this one measures 6.5 by 4 5/8. So that's going to stick onto the base of my card here. And then I've actually brought in it is black card, but it's called graphite black, and this is actually from Creative Expressions. It's absolutely beautiful. It's from their pearl cardstock, their foundations range, in the graphite. So you've got 230 GSM there, but it's got the most gorgeous shimmer in it. It is absolutely beautiful, really pretty. So this layer is just a fraction smaller. I just wanted a tiny bit of that silver border showing around the edge of the black there, just to pick up the light when we moved it around. So this one is 6 3/8 across by 4.5 inches deep. Now I'm actually going to pop those to one side for a second because I'm going to work on my top layer, which is my piece of pattern paper. Now I've had this in my stash for absolutely forever. It's from a pad which I very much think will be out of print now. I've had it years and years. It came on the front of a magazine, and it's a Bo Bunny pad called Isabella, and it's got some beautiful designs. I just wanted that pink and grey tone in there, so I've taken one of the papers out of that and I've cut this down to fit on the top of my black layer, but with a much wider. We've got a 1/4 inch border all the way around this time, so this one measures 5 7/8 across by 4 inches tall, and we're going to work on this one before I attach anything to my card. So in order to make that sort of focal point, I've just grabbed some of my stitched square dies here, chose one that was the right size, and I've cut myself out a nice little square of white smooth cardstock, and I've done a little bit stamping on there already. We're going to add a bit more to it, but I've just got a little bit of stamping on there at the minute. And the stamps are actually from a Crafter's Companion set. It was the Vintage Butterfly Sarah Signature Collection. It's got a beautiful collection of butterflies in here, so I've just chosen a couple. I've stamped those out, and then I've used one of my alcohol markers in pale pink, and I've just done a very sort of simple colouring. I've just used the 3 shades just to go light, medium and then dark around the edge there. Nothing fancy with it whatsoever. So that's going to be the section in the middle here that we're going to work around to make that sort of fractured look. Just before we stick that down, I'm going to add a little bit of a background to it. So I'm going to bring in my mat. I have got, again, just a very generic stamp. This is actually a Stampers Anonymous stamp from Tim Holtz, and I'm just going to use this sort of little numbers date stamp here to create a background on it. So what I did is I used a little bit of my masking tape to create some masks to go over the top of the stamped area, because I want this now to go in the background. So I'll do a little bit more on masking as a future technique for Technique Tuesday, but essentially all I've done is create those on some masking paper which is slightly tacky, and I'm going to cover up the ones that I've already stamped. So whatever I do over the top of this now will disappear into the background. And I just want something very, very neutral. So I brought in my quick dry ink from Spectrum Noir, and this is in Pumice, which is a real pale sort of brown grey. And we're going to ink up that stamp. And I just want to pop some of this into the background here. So again, I'm just going to go across that top area, give it a press, and then I'm going to stamp again. So we'll ink it up again, and I'm going to bring it further down this time into that bottom area. Okay, if there's any little gaps that you've got, you can just add a bit in there. And that is literally all I want to do with it, just to drop something into that background there. So then when we take these little masks away again, it hasn't damaged any of the stamping that we'd already done and any of the colouring. It's protected those, and it's pushed that stamping into the background there. So you can see now we've just got that nice sort of little bit of element in the background. We'll move that one out of the way. And what I want to do now is actually pop this one in position here. Okay, so I'm going to bring in my tape runner. You can use wet glue for this if you prefer. I'm just going to go for the tape runner so that I've got a nice dry finish and I don't have to wait for the glue to dry. And then you want to pop this at an angle. So because I'm working in a landscape fashion, rather than having it square, it wants twisting into an angle. And I'm going to sort of look here and at the bottom that I've got about an equal distance between them so that it's centered top and bottom. So let's have a look. We'll go around about, and I'm just doing this by eye at the minute. We'll go around about there and stick that one onto your piece of chosen paper. So this could be an inked background, it could be something that you've created yourself. I just chose a piece of pattern paper so that we could get cracking with it today. And then what I've done is I've cut that same black that we used for the mat layer here. So this is that lovely graphite pearlescent cardstock into 1/4 inch strips, and I've got quite a few of these left over for here from what I've been doing. Now the easiest way I find of getting these into a 1/4 inch is to use my paper trimmer rather than a guillotine. I can get a much more sort of narrow strip by using the paper trimmer. And what we're going to do is we're going to start and put these into position. So I'm going to bring my wet glue for this just so that I've got a little bit of time to work with. Now I've done a couple of these, and I always find that I start on this section here. It doesn't really matter where you start, but what you want to do is bring this level with that top edge here. So we're going to stick this one all the way down the page. So what I do is I pop it on the reverse side and turn it over, and I'm going to use that as a guide now. So I'm going to use my wet glue so that I've got a little bit of wiggle room, and we're just going to pop this. Here we go again. Look, the glue always decides not to play when we go on to filming, doesn't it? Let me just use my pin out of that one and give it a little tiny nudge. There we go. And all I'm going to do is use it as a guide here and run all the way down to where that paper finishes at the corner there. So I've got quite a bit on there. I'm just going to dab a little bit of that off now. And then again, I'm going to use the edge of this card here as a guide and you want to bring it right up against the edge and have it running parallel with this edge. So that's that one stuck down. Then I'm going to rotate, and I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to take another strip, and I'm going to pop this one up to where we've just gone down here, running parallel, and then this one comes off the bottom edge of the card. So again, just for placement, I'm going to turn it over. There's not really a right or wrong side. This has that gorgeous graphite impression on both sides, but just where I've cut it, I can tell with the edge of my strips which way it's been in the paper trimmer. So again, I'm going to lay that one down, push it up to the one that we've already positioned, and then make sure that it's placed against the piece that I've already stuck down. So that's my second one. Okay, now you can start and get a little bit clever with this now, because some of the pieces that we've already stuck, for example here, will be long enough possibly to do, yeah, that next piece. So if you want to sort of save on card, you can just chop them ready. And again, I'm going to do the same. I flipped it over. I'm going to use that as a guide as to where to put my glue. And then again, pop it up to this one and make sure it's laid against that original square. And then turn again. Now this bit's not quite long enough here, so I am going to sort of break into another piece. In fact, I've got a piece from the original one that's probably long enough here, yep. So rather than wasting any of the cardstock, I'm just going to use those pieces that I've already cut. And again, that last one, we're going to do exactly the same again. I'm going to turn that over and finish that sort of fractured element there and stick it down. So you can see now we've got that shaping on our card. It's a really, really effective design, and as I say, so simple and so quick to do. So then I'm going to swap to my larger scissors, flip it over, and I'm going to use the back of the card now as a guide to just snip those edges flush with the piece of pattern paper that we started with. So just take off all those little tiny pieces that are sticking over the edge now. I use the edge of the paper as a guide, so I've got my scissors pressed against them there, and just work your way around and take off those edges that are sticking out over the edge of the pattern paper. You can see there it's now within the parameters of the piece of paper, and that essentially is the technique. The rest of it is all decoration. So what we can do now, we can start and bring our layers back together. So I'm going to bring in that piece of black, and we're going to map this onto here. And you can see now why I worked onto the pattern paper, because if you adhere these first, it's really difficult then to get this bit level. Yes, you could take it to the edge of here if you wish, but it does, I found it looks better when it finishes at the edge of your top layer. So work on that top layer first, and then sort of stick it to wherever you're going with your matte layers. So I'm just going to carry on with the double-sided tape runner for this, and we're going to pop this onto the black and then finish that matting and layering. And then I've just got a little tiny bit of decoration that we're going to bring into play. So again, just get this one onto here, just center that in the black. I think that's about right, and get that one stuck down. And then I'm going to carry on with my tape runner on the back here, and then we're going to pop this onto that silver layer. So again, you know, matting and layering, it's entirely up to you where you go with this. I'm going to go, I find it easier to go this way sometimes. So again, I just want that really, really little narrow border on this one. It was just a suggestion that there's a bit of silver behind it there, so that when it catches the light, you've got that little tiny bit of reflection on it. And then again, carry on with that tape runner, and we're going to adhere this one to our card blank now. So nice and straightforward. Make sure I've got my fold at the top, make sure this is the right way up, and we're just going to center that now on the actual card blank. Okay, so really, really simple. As I say, it takes minutes to do, And then obviously lots of different ways of playing around with these. But all I'm actually going to do with this one is just add a sentiment. And I've just pulled out one of my dies here that says hello. As simple as that. And we're going to just put that up in that top corner there. So again, I'll stay now with my wet glue. I just want a few little dabs on the back of here. So these technique videos, my plan was for them to be much quicker than my normal videos. Just showing you those different techniques along the way. So again, just going to pop that here. Make sure that's stuck in at the end there. And you can see we're pretty much sorted there. Now I know I did have some of it stamped and I had the butterfly coloured in, which has made it a little bit quicker, but I wanted to concentrate just on this positioning here. So this is the one that I did earlier. I've added, of course, a few gems to it just to decorate on the butterfly bodies here. And then I've got a little bit around the sentiment, but essentially the same as what I've already done. And then I sort of took it from there and I had a play around with, you know, how you could sort of alter this. So I'm just going to bring this one in. I went for a different colour scheme with this one, but you can see here I've actually doubled up the elements that create that fractured effect. So this time I've got some rose gold Miricard, which is just 1/8 of an inch. And then I've gone with the bronze pearlescent card, which is 1/4 of an inch. So I've sort of started to introduce slightly different dynamic there, but you've still got that same fractured effect. I've also popped 2 layers in the center and brought my greeting into the center here this time. So just to give you a little bit of a comparison there, you can see still the same design, still got that lovely fractured effect, but there's lots of different ways that you can play with this. And then if I bring the first one back in, that was that portrait style. So you've got a slightly different configuration, but still the same technique there. And I like the fact that these pieces are the same as the border around the outside here. Okay, now on this one, I actually went slightly narrower with the border. I think it looks okay. The border is the same paper, the same cardstock as what I've done the wider strips, but because I've got those narrower strips in, I think it lends itself to the narrower border. So hope you can have a play around with this, you know, sort of decide if it's for you or not, have a play. If you do, don't forget you can always pop these onto my Facebook page at JB Crafts. Let me have a look at them. I love to see what you've been doing and what you've been playing with in your own craft room. But for today, excuse me, thank you for watching the second video tutorial for my Technique Tuesday series. And if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please consider subscribing to the channel. Give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to press that little notification bell so that you know next time I upload a new video. And I will see you guys very, very soon. Bye now.